Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for an exciting and interactive huddle session. I'm Ajit Panicker. I run a company called as Nova HVAC Systems, primarily an air conditioning company, a brick and mortar family business for about 42 years. And I also run an IT company, which I founded about 4 years ago, which is primarily into IoT and IT-based solutions for the HVAC industries. And I'm also part of the ASCENT Governing Council team. I've been an ASCENT member now for over 8 years, and it's a pleasure to moderate the huddle session on business diversification today. So let me begin with introducing our guests and speakers of today. Our first speaker for the day is Mr. Harsh Mariwala, who we know is the chairman of Marico Ltd and founder of ASCENT. He's now also an author of book Harsh Realities. I don't know how you want to call it, harsh realities or harsh realities, but it's a very
name given by Alim, who's our ASCENT member. Alim is here also. Right. Thanks, Alim, again.
So the making of Marico, the book, which is extremely inspiring. Welcome, Harsh. It's always a pleasure to interact with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our second guest and speaker for today is another famous personality, Sanjeev Kapoor. Sanjeev is the most celebrated face of Indian cuisine. He's a famous chef, runs a successful TV channel, Food. He has hosted Khana Khazana, which is the longest running show of its kind in Asia. He's an entrepreneur and a famous television personality. Welcome, Sanjeev. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Ajit. Thank you for kind introduction. Thank you.
Okay, so we would love to hear more about you, Sanjeev, and request if you could introduce yourself for our participants today in detail and share with us your journey as an entrepreneur and how you've diversified into multiple businesses. And then later on, we'll take on to the specific questions around business diversification. So over to you, Sanjeev.
Sure. Thank you, Ajit. Thank you, Harsh, and all the participants. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining. My introduction is very small and limited. I cook for a living. That's what I have done all my life. That's what I decided to do when I could not decide what I wanted to do, because everyone wanted me to be an engineer because I was academically very good. So I decided I'll do something that nobody in our family, friends or neighborhood would get into. And that's how I became a chef. Was I into cooking when I was a child? Was I interested in cooking? No, my brother was. He became a chartered accountant. He's a strategy consultant today. So to say that I got into something that I knew that I would get into all my life, no, that's not true. Having decided to do something that nobody in our family had done, then I realized that it opened doors for many things, because suddenly I was a big fish in small pond, and that was something which was new to me. I could do things and get away with it because there were not too many people who were like me. I shouldn't be too immodest about it, but yeah, I can be a little, because at that time, not too many educated people were getting into this field and trying to become a chef. I did that, worked in hotels, because at that time we didn't really have standalone restaurants which were doing well. So this was way back in 1981 when I joined the Hotel Management Institute. 3 years later, 84, when I was 24 years old, which means I was born in 1964. And I got into this field, and suddenly I realized that now I could talk about my father, who could cook very well. Otherwise, he loved to cook, but anybody who came to our house had good food and often cooked by my father. But all the credit would go to my mom, right? Which essentially also is a good cook, but now I could tell that, you know what, in our house, my dad also cooks. And now there was something that we could share, and there was a commonality that could be shared. So professionally, I could work. And on my first day of job, I really didn't know what I was getting into. We were on an induction tour. I was introduced to the executive chef. There were 6 of my batchmates. We were taken to the kitchen, executive chef, who was a young looking chef. And I didn't waste my time. I asked him, sir, how long does it take to become an executive chef? And I was all of 20. He said, if you are lucky, at least 20 years. He was 40 then. I said, thank you. He said, why did you ask? I said, you know what? I want to be an executive chef for a large hotel. When I am 30, I want to do this in 10 years time. He laughed. He says, I'm the youngest in the company. It has taken me 20 years. How would you reach that there in 10 years? I said, most people work 8 hours. I'll work 16. So elementary, Dr. Watson. It's not that difficult. And that's now the question is, did I reach the peak of our professional career back then, which was executive chef for a large hotel before I was 30? Yes, I was lucky. Rules of the game also changed. I did that in 8 years. And then the real story and struggle started, because suddenly I was right at the top in professional in my field. I was awarded as the best executive chef of this country when I was 28, and I didn't know where to go from there, because now I had achieved, and I realized that I was too young to have achieved all this. And I think for me, the diversification started from my impatience that and also some insecurity that am I going to do all this all my life? Am I going to stuck with this? And one thing led to the other. I was asked to do one episode of a TV show, a TV channel that was new to be launched. And I converted that one episode opportunity into a non-stop 19 years. And I'm not qualified to speak here with amongst all the people who are here, who are all achievers. So thank you for this opportunity, and it's a great honor to be in the same panel as Mr. Harsh Mariwala. Thank you for this honor to ASCENT. And yes, so this is the short introduction, and as we speak, I can say a little bit more. What do I do? Actually, I still continue to do the same thing. I still continue to be impatient. I still continue to cook. I still continue to strategize. I still continue to do things that I have not done before, and that leads to doing more and new things. What do I do in terms of businesses that I have? So largely, we are into content business in food. So our focus is food. So while we say diversification, but largely we are in food. Actually, mostly, I don't own coal mines, so which actually I could connect it to food also. So it is food and food. So content of food, which we publish through many different ways. Most known is TV channel Food. We have digital presence through YouTube, Facebook, social media, everywhere we're present. We reach to close to about 40 million homes through social media, about 40 million through TV channel. And publishing of content is in print, through books, through digital mediums, and through smart speakers. I also co-founded, it started with Ajit, you'll be happy to know, it started with the IoT based solution for gas stove. And now we use whole AI and machine learning in content business, and delivered through machine learning. And yeah, not too many people know about this, but yeah, good platform to share. It's called Tiny Chef. And I also co-own a cookware and appliance company called Wonder Chef, which I founded about 11 years ago. And other than that, not good time to talk, but yeah, it'll bounce back. We have about 5 brands of restaurants, and we have close to about 65 restaurants globally. Most of them are actually overseas. And other than that, I do some brand endorsements, where I give my expertise and brand recognition to companies. And Recently, pandemic brought in something new, and I realized that you had to do more with health. So we launched a few things. So two initiatives with two pharma companies, one with Gelnova, which is owned by Jatin Thakkar, Mumbai based, and we have launched our first product, Term Gel. And Aleem is here. Mr. Hariwala talked about Aleem. So Aleem has been working with the Term Gel. So it's a turmeric lozenge which delivers a great efficacy of turmeric because turmeric is cannot be absorbed easily. So we can talk more. And another one, we are working with another pharma company, some new initiatives. And lastly, I also have a joint venture with the Symbiosis University, where we do classes on culinary. So there's a degree course, BSc in Culinary Arts, and we extended that learning into a Sanjeev Kapoor Academy, which is online academy. I think I have covered a few things.
Amazing, 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 absolutely amazing, Adavi. Just for our participants, Sanjeev did speak about Term Gel. Term Gel belongs to Jatin Thakkar, Gelnova. He's an ASCENT member. He's part of my trust group, and I take pride in that. So it's awesome. But Sanjeev, and I want to pick up one thing which you said in your introduction. You said there were not many people who are getting into your field at that stage. People, and you said not many educated people getting into that field. But you've kind of you've been a popular chef, a household name, but you stayed ahead of the game in this space and diversified as an entrepreneur. Like how you said, Wonder Chef, brand endorsements, the academy, the food channel. Tell us, how did you strategize on this business diversification? What was the kind of thought process that you had when you decided to diversify?
Actually, to be very honest, people like me who are first generation, it's not a strategy paper that we write and then we start to follow that. In my case, I think one thing led to the other, and it was when I would say that when I started achieving early, that achievement led to more opportunities. So when I started to work as a chef and started to get recognition in my field, I realized that I was getting more things than most others. So that was a big motivation. So success was a big motivation. And because I was doing different things and achieving more, I was doing things that others were not doing and I was achieving more. I kept that in mind. And the way was that when TV opportunity came in, I was doing much more than any other chef. I was immersing myself into it. I tried to know, and luckily at that time, I used to be in Mumbai at that time, and I used to have a motorcycle. I used to come and I used to see that there was on my way, there was an institute. It said Narsi Munji Institute of Management Studies. And I realized that to please my father, I joined that. I joined a 3 years course, a master's in marketing management then, because my dad felt itna acha dimag wala पढ़ाई लिखाई नहीं कुछ की hotel management was not पढ़ाई लिखाई graduation was not पढ़ाई लिखाई so I joined that, and that was the time that I was trying to learn more. I was trying to understand positioning. I was trying to learn many new things, and that started to help. And I was questioning everything that the producer, director, and the channel was doing. For example, the name of the show that was given at that time was Shriman Bawarchi. And I protested. I said, you know what, here I am. I'm trying to change this industry. People don't know who a chef is. Oh, Maharaj hai, Khansama hai, and I was trying to change that. And so I contested, protested, and I gave this name Khana Khazana. So, and also I realized that I asked that who is it for? No other chef was doing that. So it was a show with each episode a new chef with new dishes. And I said, what should I do? And I asked, who is it for? And just that question, I was addressing a need, whereas all other chefs were showing off. So they were showing was what they were best at. I was showing something that what the viewer could become best with. So that was a simple change. And I realized that if you pay little bit of heed to what you are getting into, it's not very difficult. And sure enough, my viewership was much more. That single episode changed everything for this food programming in India on television. I didn't know how many times of anybody else. So I stayed true to that, and then I extended. So everybody would ask me, "Oh, you have a show? Do you have a book?" So there was a need, there was a demand that was there, but I felt that why would anybody buy my book? टीवी पे रेसिपी फ्री मिलती है, बुक खरीदनी पड़ेगी. Why? So I stayed away from that, but that need kept on increasing. More people started to ask me. I said, "Oh, this is a real need," but I said, "No, that was a time when computers in our country were getting but home computers, the population was still very less." So then I said, "No, I want to do something that's different." So I launched a CD-ROM when the population of home computers with CD-ROM in our country was less than 50,000. I launched a website, sanjeevkapoor.com, way back in 1996, when people didn't even know what a website was at that time, and full of recipes and things like that. So I would say that I have always liked tech play because food, when you are into food and as a chef, you are creative, but your creativity can become better when you understand science of food, science of cooking. So the artist in you, combined with the science of cooking, you can outperform anybody else, because then you get everything, and you can predict results. It's easier. And you have a little bit of analytic ability. Then the solutions are very simple and easy, and people just say, "Wow!" But actually, it was not that difficult. So from there on, each thing that I did was there was an inherent or latent demand that was there. I was just reacting to that demand, and that created opportunities for me. So to say that, did I have a plan? Did I know that this is where I would reach? Or no, I've just been doing things which I enjoy. So I think that's more important to me, that do I enjoy this or not? Is it fun for me or not? And in that, I've realized that whatever I enjoy starts to become relevant. Big or not, how big or not, scale or not, that's all debatable, questionable. All that is, I think, question and matter of how people perceive it. But for me, that excitement, is it something that is there? So, for example, not everything that I do is business. So there are many things that I do which are not business, but I enjoy that. That how does Akshapatra cater to 18 lakh meals every day? As a chef, we were not taught this. So about more than 10 years, 12 years ago, I started to associate strongly with it. And now today I spend almost, I give 20 to 30 days a year to Akshapatra. So it's, do I enjoy it? Do I want to do more of it? That's my motivation.
What you're saying is primarily I enjoyed the success, and then that motivated me. And then I just got interested, and that's how I diversified. And I just went with the flow. That's what you're trying to actually tell us in terms of your business diversification.
Yeah. So as I told you, so during the pandemic, when nothing was happening, most businesses were put to ransom, right? So I decided that, okay, what can I do? Everything was shut. I started supplying meals to hospitals, free meals to hospitals. And I started from one hospital, Kasturba Gandhi Hospital in Mumbai. And suddenly I could partner with many people, and we could do close to about 35 hospitals in about 14 cities of India, right? And we started with 250 meals, and we scaled that up to close to about 65,000 meals a day. So that's something which pandemic created that opportunity. I said, I just can't sit at home. I have to do something. And that was essential service. We were not saying that, oh, Wonder Chef, we cannot deliver, but this is something that I could do. Restaurants could not open, but I could still cook, right? So I did that. Then I realized that health was becoming important. So what can I do with food? And that's when Jat and I met and realized that there was a synergy. He had created something which was cutting edge with turmeric, with Term Gel or Term Nova. It's a fantastic product. So we decided, okay, let's look at this opportunity and create more things with turmeric, all about turmeric. So we started working with that. So yeah, opportunities coming. Yeah.
Awesome. That's absolutely good. So, but before I bring in Harsh to get his point on this, I must thank you that you protested for that Shriman Bawarchi. We're very happy with Khana Khazana. Thank you so much. Glad you put your foot down on that front. Thank you. Harsh, I want to actually bring you onto this. You have diversified within Marico into multiple brands, new segments, even beyond Marico with Aquacentric, Kaya, including your initiatives like ASCENT and MHI. How did you strategize these diversifications?
So I think the history and theory has proved that it is better to be focused. And your chances of success will be higher if you have a focused strategy. Because the moment you go into a different business model, it requires a different set of competencies. It requires domain knowledge. And you go through a huge learning curve, which you don't need to go through if you have a focused strategy. So if I look back at my own journey, I would say that wherever we have diversified into a related business model, so there is what is known as your core business, which in case of Marico is skin care, hair care products, and healthy foods in product format. The adjacencies to me are working around those. So, for example, in case of a brand like Saffola, where Sanjeev, we've gone into Saffola masala oats, which has done extremely well because it has a heart connotation, and it's Saffola Foods within last 2-3 years has become a 500 crore brand. We've gone to Saffola Honey, we've gone to Saffola Proteins, which is so it's related, and there we are able to succeed better. Similarly, in case of personal care, whether it is Parachute or whether it is Nihar or whether it is Set Wet, our understanding of the consumer also is much deeper rather than going into something completely different. So my first advice to all the ASCENT members, as long as if you have a strong opportunity in something which is related, don't go beyond that, because in pursuing something which is completely different, relatively it's difficult to succeed. There will be exceptions. You may say that Reliance has gone in from petro to telecom to, whatever else they've done, But there are very few and far Reliances, they have been able to get it right. But if you look at the history of all diversifications, 90% of unrelated diversifications will fail. So my strong advice to you is, as long as there is potential for you to go into related diversification, to go into adjacencies, look at that. For example, again, looking at Marico, if I find that, okay, in beauty and wellness, which is our core, the potential is limited, I cannot grow, then I may say, okay, can I go into fabric care, or I can go into household care, which is in a way related. It's catering to the housewife, it has a similar distribution network, we know advertising. I would look at that. Now, yes, of course, we went into Kaya. At that time, there was a huge, India was rising very high, everybody was going into modern retail. And I didn't want to go through that because it's again a very, very tough business. Again, Reliance has done relatively well in that segment. You need big money in that. So you need big money in that. And So we didn't want to do, but then I got an opportunity of getting into skincare, and my rationale was that can we enter skincare through a services route and then launch products? So I think what we've done in Kaya is we've gone through services, but now our thrust has gone more towards products, and we are trying to increase the products, which is our core business. We know that business, you know. So that was the original thinking, but we've gone through a huge learning curve. You know, we could have, I made many mistakes in Kaya because it was a completely unrelated diversification. It meant going to the consumer, customer service, safety issues, and you know, we went through a lot of learning. We expanded very fast because the initial response was very good, and then we fell back. We changed our positioning from cure to care. Let me not get into it, but I think in an unrelated sector, because you are going through your learning curve and you don't have the domain knowledge, the chances of success are much, much lesser than being in a focused business. So I have a very strong belief that one should be focused as long as there is potential to grow in that focused business. If not, then go into related part. But to pursue something unrelated, I mean, if you have the courage, you can do it. I'm not saying no. And there have been a few successes like Reliance going in from petro to retail to telecom, and I must give it to them, hats off to them in terms of how they succeeded in unrelated sectors. But there are very few likes of Reliance would succeed. So don't look at just few people who have succeeded. 90% people have failed or entrepreneurs have failed. So that's my broad, shall I say, uh, message to all the asset entrepreneurs.
Thanks, Harsh. So staying focused is the trick of the whole thing.
I don't know what Sanjeev feels, but Aqua is something which is, I have done it post my retirement as the managing director. It was done out of fun. So to me, it's a fun business. It is sometimes I like pioneering new businesses. So both Kaya and Aqua are pioneering initiatives, and it's not done for financial reasons. You know, I get the fun of doing something which has a positive impact on people, and Aqua has that. You know, we have seen a huge impact on people who have been paralyzed or who are suffering from disabilities in terms of huge improvement in their health because they're able to exercise in water. So that was done more for fun. It is not at all done for financial reasons. So don't equate Aqua to. I'm saying that if you are building it's not done from a business angle. I'm saying, yeah.
No, I think Harsh, you're absolutely right. Focus is the key. My brother, who's a strategy consultant, chartered accountant by profession, but he only does strategy.
Yeah.
For years, he has told me, stick with one thing and you can make it so big, which I know I can. But is that what I want to do? I think things work when you want to do more of what you like. Making it big for others or making it big for you, it means only money then. So for me, I'd say that, okay, whatever I enjoy within reason, related diversification. And as you start to become successful, you can justify virtually anything and you can say how it is related. But fortunately, we have stayed true to the adjacencies of food, cookware. Just to say that my core was always, let's say, restaurants. But for me, the challenge is least in that because that's what I did 30 years ago. So for me, I have to do things that I have not done before. My excitement is important. Then there's a difference between, I would say, what Harsh would do and what I would do, because the scale at that size that I start with, I'm okay by starting from zero and failing and saying it's okay, and then maybe take longer than most people. But if I start something, the chances are that I would stick with it. Maybe it'll take time, but yeah, I couldn't agree more that focus is critical.
Amazing. But the common takeaway both of y'all said is, that, some things I do just for fun, but I guess the takeaway as participants is that you need to get to where Harsh and Sanjeev is before that fun element comes in.
Oh,
and that's
so
for sure.
I say charity भर पेट होती है. आपका पेट भरा नहीं हुआ है तो नहीं ये बातें नहीं होती.
That's a very important takeaway. But Sanjeev, when you do these diversifications, like you said, restaurants, your passion and everything, Are there any key parameters that you actually look at that, okay, these are my indicators or these are the things that I'm going to look forward to, and this is where I'm going to go for diversification?
Yeah, over the years, I have learned a few things. So there are businesses that are uh, actually, there's no business which is easy. There's everything is fun and difficult. But yeah, definitely, I have seen that people like me who want to do more things, even in adjacencies, the only way to do that is, and that's the most critical part that I consider now, that there has to be somebody who will own it, somebody who's the owner of it, and that owner is means actual ownership. It's not that I also when I used to work, I used to work like an owner, but I say no, you are an owner when your skin is the game, and so you would be, so day-to-day management of it, execution of it has to be done, and this is how I like to do, has to be done by an operator, maybe at a scale and a size that I when I start any new initiative, that's what I do. One, if I have had the uh, once I have the owner in place, naturally identified the need, that need is something I keep my ears to the ground. People will keep on telling you, and then you do initial dipstick, and you try and see what is the need. Then you do a little bit more and try to see the industry size. Are you happy with it? And so for some people, it may be that, okay, in food, can we go to 1,000 crores in 5 years? That becomes the benchmark. So I would say that, okay, could we go to 100 crores in 5 years? So that's how. So scale and size, what you are okay with, and is that the opportunity? Are you going to be a significant player, that in first 3 years, can you go to the market share of 10% in that or not? If you are not, then it's not fun to do. So while it may be fun for you to do, but there has to be some significance that is within that also. So you look at all of that, and of course, the way I like to do is I like to things which I believe that our existing network can support. We fund that also 100%. Or I also normally look at people who can, so there would be a strategic investor partner, and can they bring in day-to-day management with it or not? And is there a defined owner in that structure? So that's the model that I do. So for example, when we did Wonder Chef, that's exactly what I did. Ravi, who's a co-founder with me, he used to come, he was CEO of Landmark Group Hospitality and Restaurants. He was handling that, and for that they were our we had signed to do about 150 restaurants with them. And he used to meet me virtually every week twice, and we were spending a lot of time. And I said, "क्यों आप time खराब कर रहे हो नौकरी करके? मैं बहुत लोगों को खराब करता हूँ." I said, "Be an entrepreneur. Do you?" He says, "What can I do?" And we identified this, worked on it, and he became the owner. Money was raised through investors, and we started that. And uh, he breathes that only. So I typically find somebody to do the day-to-day management of these kind of diversification, so that that person has to breathe that and only that.
So an ownership. I mean, whatever is a diversifying plan, there has to be an owner to that entire plan, and that's a big takeaway from that. All right, great. And then at what stage of the business start evaluating of the process would you think about options of diversification? You know, are there certain tools or the risk of opportunities of diversifications? Are there any tools like these that you would use?
Right. So fortunately for us, we work we have access to media. We have access to medium. So what we do is there are many tools which research agencies would use. We would embed that in our content. So for example, I'll stay focused to, let's say, Wonder Chef. So there were two critical reasons for Wonder Chef's creation. One was that there was a product called George Foreman Grill, hugely successful grill, which was to launch in India. They approached me as a brand ambassador, and that product was called Sanjeev Kapoor Tandoor. And that they had initially planned to sell about 20,000 units in first year. That product became so big that we were selling close to about 50,000 units a month. For whatever reason, the company who they had partnership in India, their relationship got sour for whatever reason that happened. So now there was a product that was so huge and it was not available. And what was it called? It was called Sanjeev Kapoor Tandoor. So everywhere I would go, people say, "Arey sir, आपका product नहीं मिलता, वो संजीव कपूर तंदूर नहीं मिलता, वो तेल निकाले टपक टपक टपक, वो कहीं नहीं मिलता." And it was a huge product. Even today, it's George Foreman Grill is a big product. So that was one. Then I happened to so I would travel globally for different things, and if there's anything kitchen related new, I would pick it up. And because it's new and I am excited in using new things, there was a small blender that I bought. It was not even a great color. It was almost a parrot green color blender. I started to use on my shows, and anything and everything I realized that I was using that, but you couldn't get that in the market. So wherever I would go, people would ask me, "अरे वो आपका संजीव कपूर तंदूर कहाँ मिलता है?" नहीं मिलता. वो आप जो मिक्सर जो ब्लेंडर यूज करते हैं वो कहाँ मिलता है? And there were too many of these conversations that were happening. So now this could be anecdotal, right? But when it happens, when you know that you have reached to so many homes, and even out of that, in a month, there are 3 people who ask you that extrapolation of that that's how actually TV ratings work, right? Whether TAM or BAC, very few boxes and they control thousands of crores of business. So it's how we use that information. So I knew this data. So we said, okay, this is something that we had to do. So these were the two products, but I wanted to build it owner found. Now no money. I don't. I say I have no money. How do we build this? So we through associations, contacts, we realized there was a Italian factory who was willing to do some work for us, and but they said that, "Oh, we cannot do such small quantities for you. So you sell our product." So we started selling their product, Ballerini. So it was not something. So over a period of time, we started to get some more products of some other Italian company. So we were trading products of different companies. But at back of the mind, it was always there that this is something that we can do. And I would say that let's have our own brand. So as soon as we started to sell more numbers, we got more comfort, more money. And that was, I would say that I always say first 1,000 days in any business. If you can survive that, that's now the thing would become easy. So we had survived 1,000 days, after big struggle. And then we started to bring in products which we thought were relevant to Indian market. We started to build our own product. So we started to we created a brand, Wonder Chef. So it was more, and the reason of creating Wonder Chef, see, I could have called Sanjeev Kapoor Tandoor or just Sanjeev Kapoor, right? It could have been. But I realized that in .com boom, 1999, there was an opportunity for me to exit sanjeevkapoor.com. I made a big mistake. I was offered 60 crores for that. And at that time, Rajesh Jain had sold his website for 500 crores. And he was not making any money, we were not making any money. But he had got 500 crores. And I was looking at our website. Our numbers were at least 1/5 of what his traffic was. So I said, has to be 100 crores. And I didn't get 100 crores. They did not give 100 crores. 60 crores was on the table. I had to walk away. The reason was the website was called sanjeevkapoor.com. And I was not sure that in the digital world, how important would it be? Would it be like giving away my right thumb, right arm, or all of me? So then I said, okay, let's build things that you would not become so possessive about. So that's why it was Wonder Chef by Sanjeev Kapoor.
Amazing.
And now it's so that we also use we just launched 3 days ago. Kriti Sanan is signed by us, and she's our brand ambassador.
Amazing. Amazing. Awesome. Harsh, I have a question.
Sorry, I had to 1 minute. Huh? I'm on. Yeah. Sorry, I have some urgent matter which has come up, and I told Arsana that I may have to go.
Yeah, she did tell us about it.
Yeah,
but we'll as long as you are in between, we'll keep picking you on this.
Yeah.
Harsh, if I have a choice where my running business is the opportunity for vertical growth, but the business dynamics has also changed and is also giving me an opportunity to diversify.
Yes.
The resources are always limited.
Yes.
What should I pick? How should one go for it if there are these two opportunities?
So as I mentioned earlier, to some extent, I thought I'd answer that question, that as long as there are potential for you to grow in your current business, and if you have limited resources, I would always back that current business diversification or related diversification. If the potential is not there, then one may have to look at something different. But I think what I picked up the hint from Sanjeev was that he inducted a partner who had the domain knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think you need to either, if you are happy with having a partnership, then you can get somebody as a partner in the unrelated business, because then the biggest issue is, you're going through a learning curve and you don't have domain knowledge. You can say that you will employ people. So if there are two scenarios. One is if you diversify into unrelated business, you can get a partnership with somebody who has that knowledge in that new sector, or you also employ people who have domain knowledge in that area. But the key thing is, don't combine your organization structure of your current business with the new business. Both are completely different. For example, when we formed Kaya, we had a different separate company, subsidiary, 100% subsidiary at a different location, different set of people. So don't try and say that your current people will do part here and part there. That never works. And actually don't transfer even the current, because the skills required to manage a completely different business are very different. So you keep it separate in terms of the organization structure, the company, the location, the talent, and employ people who have domain knowledge and their experience in that sector, rather than you trying to do it through your own people who don't have experience and going through a huge learning curve. There is no shortcut to a learning curve. If you don't, you'll learn and you'll make mistakes and you'll learn. But if you have people who are experienced, then you take that shortcut either through a partnership or through employing very senior people with domain knowledge. And but keep it separate location, because the culture required to manage a service business in our case is very different than managing an FMCG business. Things like safety come in, customer service, hospitality, dealing directly with customers, and poles apart. And we didn't realize that. So some of the shortcuts we did, I think it hit us back. So I'm saying keep it absolutely separate. Remove all the escape buttons and not ensuring that the people who are handling the current business don't handle anything of the new. And as Sanjeev said, you get a partner or get a very senior person to manage that, who knows that sector very well.
All right. So Harsh, so when you're saying that one was talking about the vertical growth, and you also spoke about reliance. Does it also make sense that rather than going diversification, I go forward integration, backward integration, and control the entire value chain? Is that a good strategy?
Need not be. I think you have to evaluate whether forward integration, backward integration, is it giving you a competitive advantage, Because even doing farm, for example, I'll just give you an example. We are very big in coconuts, we are the largest buyers in the world. You can say I do backward integration in doing coconut farming, but that's not going to give me a competitive advantage. It's ridiculous. I can't manage so many trees, and farming is very different than managing. What is the core? What is the value you're creating? In our case, the value creation happens through branding and distribution. I should concentrate mainly on that rather than doing a backward integration. And if there is some case, if there is a shortage of raw material, you're not able to get it, and backward integration is going to give you the monopoly in terms of either lower cost or having supplies which are not available to your competitors, yes, you can look at a backward integration. So a lot will depend on, is it giving you a competitive advantage, whether forward and back. Don't do it for the sake of doing it. It is again a different, it is not related to diversification, it's unrelated. And in trying to do forward backward integration, you may falter. And just for the sake of doing it, don't do it. If it is going to give you a very strong competitive advantage, evaluate that and then treat it as a diversification. It may be a different business altogether. If it is giving you a huge competitive advantage, then you look at that and man it with people who have domain knowledge in backward as well as forward integration.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Harsh. Sanjeev, you spoke about sanjeevkapoor.com and the challenges that you had around when you wanted to exit that business. The question that comes from here is you're focused in your domain around the food business. Is focusing only on the core competency sometimes a risk, considering the business dynamics are completely changing at a very fast pace? Is that a safe play?
Yeah, see, fortunately, food is not small. It is, so we are in services, we are in product, we are in adjacencies in cookware and appliances. So it's very well diversified, and the risks are mitigated. And we learned that through pandemic that fortunately we were very well diversified. So hospitality was hit. So our restaurant business was zero, right? And even at one time, our Wonder Chef was at risk because we were not allowed to sell. All shops have closed, everything. And with limited capital, when you have to look at all the debt, you have to look at all the things, payroll and all of that. It is a big risk. If it had gone for another 60 days, we would have been in very bad state. Fortunately, our diversification in food through content consumption went up. People were consuming a lot of food content on TV, on screens, on phones, and everything. That gave us, and it spiked a lot. So that helped us. But yes, if it is a very sharp focus, the risks, businesses risk, that risk is inherent. Now, in that, how do you mitigate that? Is that by diversification or not? I think each business is unique. What I have seen is that what may work for one, what may not work for other. We all, even for our businesses, we realize that each battle is different. It is not because we have done something in food, it will work for us. It's even in restaurant, it's not that if we have worked something and it has worked, same brand, same concept, same thing in a new location falls flat. So the learning is even in your core competence, when you try and expand, that expansion risks are there. And we have to learn and through sessions like these, I think that minimization of that risk will happen, where we can say that, okay, we did this and we made a mistake. So I have made so many mistakes that we learn. But what I've also learned is that even if you make a mistake, if it excites you, because time also changes. So historic data, because you made a mistake 3 years ago, will you make that same mistake now? Everything may be same, but the time is not. Consumers are not. So it is worth taking that risk if it excites you. और कुछ नहीं तो खुद को तो मजा आया ना.
Awesome. But when you have so many such diversifications, how do you share your time between your existing business and all these diversified business? How do you actually plan that? I know you have another owner, you have a stakeholder, everything, but it still takes your time, right? So how do you actually share this limited time that we all have?
Actually, you start to prioritize. You start to see that, okay, and what you see is when you do few things in terms of priority, because fortunately, we have lots of time. We in India, what I've seen since I have worked overseas also, I've realized that there's a lot of inbuilt inefficiency in our work culture. Having worked, so I was in a lazy country, laid back New Zealand, but I realized the work culture, the output of time was very high, even in professional way if I were to compare that, even of today. So it's not that difficult if you decide. More often than not, if the day-to-day management, the tough part, is managed by the core team, and I couldn't agree with Harsh more. So all our ventures, the offices are separate, teams are separate. They don't sit together, because that does not bring in efficiency. The focus is gone. So what I try to do is I try to focus on my strength and see what is the competitive edge that I can bring to that business, and rest everything is either we hire or so. For example, I own a TV channel, right? I don't waste my time on which satellite, which transponder. Though I would know, I may have secondary and tertiary knowledge, but primary knowledge, I don't want to spend my time and effort on that. But I understand the viewers, I understand consumers, I understand what they want, what excites them. So my contribution is limited to that. And over a period of time, there are new skills that you build. So for example, IP was something which I realized in our food and content and brand and products. It was not a very evolved thing. Over a period of time, I understood it, spent time with lawyers, and today that's a competitive edge I can bring in, and very easily I can look at a contract and I say, we have not covered this. Let's look at this. So while I am a chef, there's a competitive edge that I bring. So I only focus to because when you start something new, in any case, you have decided that what you are going to do with this, why you are starting it. So I would so for example, again, I'll stick to one core, Wonder Chef. So in cookware, I realized that it's becoming lifestyle. We brought in fashion into it. How did I bring that up? I do many live shows. I understand. And I looked at the pots and pans. I say, "Sare black color ke hain. Why can't we bring in some color?" Very simple insight. And we change the whole look and feel. Then my core, I looked at a dosa tawa, and I realized that not even one dosa tawa in this market, huge market of dosa tawa, would create a good dosa. What is a dosa? Dosa has to be nice and crisp. Why do people buy non-stick tawa? Because dosa sticks to the pan. So normal person does not want this dosa, her dosa to stick on the pan. So I realized that and what makes a dosa crisp is because it sticks to the grid, to the iron, that caramelizes, that makes it crisp. Now, I know cooking, I know science, and I say, okay, but non-stick is counterproductive. If you put it any batter on it, it will not become crisp, right? So it will just go out. So I started working with the development team. I said, I want a coating, which for first 1 minute on high, it should not come off in dosa tawa. You put that dosa batter, it should keep on sticking. At the time of release, at given temperature, it should come off. We went back, everyone said that sir, you're crazy. Went to China, said you're crazy. But today I can tell you, Wonder Chef dosa tawa, we sell by far, we beat anybody else just by one intervention. And we said, now this is for us. Nobody can copy that. Okay, in India, it's not that easy to do that kind of protection. But that is what is the competitive edge. I'll spend my time on something like that, and I exactly know what I want to do. So I have allocated 2 days. So 26th and 27th, the MD and I, we are going to Hyderabad. And I said that we need to spend time. We had reached this scale. What is our next 5 years going to look like? What would we contribute with? Can I find those 2 days in a quarter for Wonder Chef with ease? So I have more time than if I can find 30 days for Akshapatra, if I can find time for autistic kids, if I can find time to feed hospitals. I don't think time, it's in mind. We feel that we don't have time in. Do things that you are good at, where your efficiency is high, or find people who are better than you, who are more efficient than you.
Amazing. That's a
Can I just step in? I think
Harsh.
It resonates a lot with me what Sanjeev was saying. I think what I heard from him was that I think you have to continuously be in touch with the customer and find out what works and how do you innovate. This example of dosa tawa and all is amazing. I think that's what entrepreneurs are. You need to get deep insight into what really clicks with the consumer and offer a product which is consumer centric. And I think for any business, consumer is the center of any business. Many people say that employees work for the consumer. Consumer is the one who's paying employee the salary. So in any business, consumer is the center point. Don't think anything else. And you need to get very deep insight into consumers and what they are thinking. And many times the consumer themselves don't know what they want. You need to unearth from them. I think that's what I think Sanjeev is getting. And number two, he just mentioned this time. I always feel that lack of time is an effect. That means you're not doing something right. You're trying to do too many things. You're not delegating. You're not empowering. You don't have good quality talent. So don't complain that I don't have time. The moment anybody says, I don't have time, what does Mukesh Ambani do with so many businesses? In spite of that, he's growing. So don't think I have lack of time. Okay, in some cases, some short term, you may have some issue problems, but on a perpetual basis, you can't say I don't have time. There is something fundamentally wrong in the way you are actually managing your business. You're not empowering, you're not delegating, you're trying to do too many diverse things. Just be focused and don't give this excuse, I don't have time. Because that really angers me, when somebody says I don't have time. Awesome. I have time. Every day in my whole journey, I have not sat in my office beyond 5:30, and people get shocked. I have to do my workout in the evening, come what may. I leave that, and people know it that I will not work after 6 o'clock in the evening. If need be, I'll carry some papers home. I'll lead if it is urgent at night, but I have to exercise every day. It's like having a shower every day. So I think that's two reflections on what Sanjeev said.
No, absolutely. I must say this. It angers me a lot when people say I don't have time. So I'll give you one little anecdote. So 2 weeks ago, so this was last month, my mom's sister, she passed away, who's in Delhi. So there's some prayer that was kept after a few months. And she informed me last month that the 4th of September. And I said, do you want to go? He says, yeah, if we can, because you've not traveled out of Bombay. So, and I decided, and I said, okay, I'll come with you. So we came to Delhi on 2nd, and she said, I said, okay, my wife can come and she can bring you back. She said, no, if I want to come back with you only, right? So now my mom, who's not been to Delhi for 2 years, she's not met her family. One way is I say, okay, I'm very busy, let's go back. And I said, no, this is not what I want to do. She's 80 plus. I want to give her my time, and she cannot do things because of my time is not acceptable to me. So I took a one-way ticket for myself. And I said, when you want to come, I'll come with you. So that is how it has been for last 15 days. And we leave back tomorrow, and she comes with us. So to say that time is not, for last 1 year, I've started saying this because I want to breathe this and feel like that. And my creativity is at best. When I say this, I say, I'm a retired person. Mere paas to time hi time hai.
Awesome. Too good. All right. So great. That's fabulous. Bringing in that consumer insight for diversification. And that was very critical.
Ajit, can I just intervene one other thing? You're talking about the forward diversification. I was just thinking aloud, Yeah. I think there have been examples of companies who have gone into services from like Asian Paints has gone into painting.
Yeah.
And then I think Godrej has gone into pesticides in terms of offering pesticide services at home and wherever offices. I think United Phosphorus has gone into, again, pesticides in farming. Now, in most cases, the skills required in managing that are very different. But when I talked to the Asian Paints managing director, and I found out that it's not really a standalone business, which is they've gone in for. They are doing this to get the consumer insight, because this gives them an opportunity to go and meet the consumer because they're painting the houses. So consumer insight in terms of what are the consumer preferences, in the terms of different shades. They can do online market research because they are in touch with so many consumers through that services. So it is not done from a profit point of view, but to get the consumer insight, which will help the core business. So you have to be clear why you're doing forward or backward integration. Many times it need not be business reason, but it could be something like this, where you get an insight into consumer preferences. Whatever you're doing, you can test it out. You show them the shade or whatever, innovations you planned. So the whole objective is very different. It's not that they are trying to make money in this, but they want to get very close to the consumer and get consumer insight so that they can launch or explore some newer initiatives in the paint market.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Harsh. So now we've got another 15, 20 minutes to actually quickly round up quite a few of the questions which members have had. So Harsh, first one's here for you. The diversification is a super business for family business. You diversify एक business बड़े बेटे को दे दिया, दूसरा business छोटे बेटे को दे दिया और मैंने फिर संन्यास ले लिया. Do you agree or you don't agree?
No. I think the key thing is we cannot assume that every son in the family will be business oriented or he would want to go into business. I think that's the biggest problem in the Indian society. The parents want their children to inherit and join their own business. One should not force fit because the child may have some other inclinations. I strongly believe that every person in this world has a God-given gift. The key thing is, what is your God-given gift you need to identify? Is it business? Is it art? Is it commercial? It could be anything else. You force fit your children to manage a business, and if the children are not that interested, then you are not setting them up for success. True. So I think the key thing is to find out if you have many children and if they can, would they work jointly, and many times children, they can be complementary in their whatever they work together. So I think the key thing is to find out whether would they want to work together in that business, are they complementary, or they would start fighting. And at an individual level, what are their preferences in terms of their own careers? Do they want to be in business, not in business? If they want to be in business, what are the critical skills they are bringing to the business? And if all that shows that, okay, each son or each daughter wants to manage a separate independent business, then the need to have more than one business would be there, because then you can divide the business and give them based on their strengths.
Amazing.
Or you can ask the children themselves to set up a business if they have that passion, But don't force fit that, because IT is doing very well, so okay, go on to IT. That is not going to make you succeed, I think you have to look at from inside out, what are you good at, what are the opportunities in that sector, and then put the outside in, and then do something which is relevant for children so that they are happy.
Amazing. Thanks. Sanjeev, there is a quote which Warren Buffett said. It says, he believes that put your eggs in one basket and watch it very closely. Is that your mantra? Do you agree or do you disagree with that?
I think it's a viewpoint because people like Warren Buffett look at only one kind of eggs. We as creative people, we know that it's not only hen, it is duck. There are many different eggs. And if you keep all eggs in same basket, same type of eggs, all may rot. So same eggs in same basket, different eggs in different baskets. So how many baskets you can manage those baskets.
Amazing. Too good. And Sanjeev, there's another thought process that's coming, is that the organic food industry is waiting to explode in India, and that will be the future. Do you agree or disagree?
Nothing explodes nowhere. In business, nothing explodes. It's real. Everything is real. There is nothing that you say, ये दरवाजा खुल गया, दुनिया बदल गई. कुछ नहीं ऐसा होता. Food के अंदर तो बिल्कुल नहीं होता. It is a difficult path. So I think Harsh said it beautifully, and he said it many times. The business of food is not about food or products. It's about business of consumer. It is the consumer that you own, and you give what you decide that what you want to become good with, the kind of consumers that you want to target. And once you start to create a big cohort of consumers, bigger that cohort, you can target more products of need to that cohort. I think that's critical, and that's my understanding. Would organic food grow? Organic food will grow, but you also have to understand that what's the historic package. So I'm assuming that we are talking of packaged organic food. So that you could do fresh, or you could do longer shelf life products. Both will have their own journeys, branding of that. Some people have actually killed the competitive advantage in that by making them price them so aggressively, almost equal to the commodity, right? It's not. It's to some extent it has already we have partially killed that. Demand will grow. You cannot stop it, but will it explode? Highly unlikely.
Let me step in on that front. I think it's a good question. I think many of these food trends or consumer trends come from abroad. They get the vegan trend. It started abroad. It's coming to India. It's got accelerated in the pandemic because the overall awareness for health has increased. I would say that yes, it's a trend which is happening more so in the Western countries, and it has started in India. It's been there for the last few years, and I think it will. I can't say it explode, but it will have a niche. It's already had a niche. And I think the key thing is how genuine is that organic. Because a lot of people make a claim of organic, but it is not truly organic, because it means organic is, it starts with the farm itself. You have to have organic farming, including all the practices. So people's trust in organic brands is, I think you need to earn that trust. There will be a certain niche. In my opinion, it will be a niche. It cannot be a mainline consumer. It will be a niche. That niche could be maybe anywhere in single digit, 2, 3, 5%, because it is expensive, as Sanjeev was saying. It's not, because the cost of growing organic is high. And those only who are convinced that, I don't want to have any pesticides in my food, or, have something very natural, they will pay that premium. So it's going to be a niche market. And if you're a market leader, it may be over a period of time, because India is a large country, there could be an opportunity to be in that space. But there are already some players who are occupying in that area. But it will grow, that's for sure. It will not be like explode, but it will grow. And the growth has accelerated in the recent past because of pandemic. Would you agree, Sanjeev?
Absolutely. Yeah. Growth would be there. Growth would be there. But yes, as you said, it will be a niche. To say that, and we see this, and I see organic comes in health. It's a subset of health. Yeah. How it is perceived in mind of the consumers. Health itself is niche, and you are talking a small niche of that. So it will. It's not that people are saying that big numbers come in when it replaces something. So it is not replacing that. In a rush, that's not going to happen. But niches grow at its own pace. It will definitely grow. But for market leaders, does it make sense to extend it to it? If somebody is into dal and they want to launch organic dal, you're already you have a market share. Yes, makes sense that you get a little bit of, but it will not be exciting enough as yet. Health in India. There's a reality I'll share, and Harsh occupies in food a large part of that space, is that we talk health more than we consume. हम बातें सैलेड की करते हैं और खाते समोसा हैं.
You're right. Taste is very important in food. Taste is the most important. And I go on giving the example. I don't know, Sanjeev, whether you know, but when we launched our Saffola baked snacks about 10 years back, only in Bombay, and because it was under the brand name Saffola, we went overboard on health. But it was under the compromise of taste. It didn't do well, because taste is the most important. And then we went overboard on taste. We launched our masala oats, and it's flying.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I'm aware of that. I'm aware. So naturally, being in food, we are always keeping in touch with the reality of all good products, good brands. Either we are testing, trying to do better. Savola kya kar raha hai, usse अच्छा क्या कर सकते हैं?
Yeah, well, it's amazing that getting closer to the consumer and understanding is the trick also in diversification. There is an entrepreneur who is exploring an opportunity in the Wonder Chef line. Do you think kitchen textiles will have a space?
Oh, both are different businesses. So the only commonality is the kitchen. Only commonality is the kitchen. But on the product side, it's not. So the reason to buy when your need is cooking, those commonalities are there. We have evaluated it. It's not because as Sanjeev Kapoor, we have our own licensed range, which we license it to different people. In glassware, we do it. We also do it in kitchen linen. But we have considered that Wonder Chef, again, same logic as organic. It's a very small niche, and it may take more time and effort for Wonder Chef team to focus on it. So at this moment, we have more opportunities which we can leverage, which would yield higher business in terms of everything. So no, it's too small for us at the moment.
Just to add one more point, I think the key thing which I'm capturing from Sanjeev is that you evaluate. I mean, first of all, is it fitting into you, and how big is the opportunity? You don't want to do too many things. I think the key thing for any entrepreneur is when to say no. Because many times you get many options. He would have considered this, but it will not lead him anywhere in terms of the addition to his own business. And he would better expand in his core, which has a bigger potential, rather than trying to do too many things which has limited potential. I think the entrepreneur should learn when to say no and when to say yes. And I think that's a very, very important part. You have to look at the potential. How big is that potential? You have to look at, do you have a right to win, which includes, do you have anything innovative or pioneering in kitchenware, which is that whatever garments we may call it. And what is the innovation he'll bring? At the most, he will get that ego of, okay, the brand name, which he can license it to somebody else also. So he should be focused on what is his core business and not trying to too many things which will take a lot of energy, but will not lead to a decent size.
Okay. So before we actually go back to the questions, I'm going to have one or two questions to you, Sanjeev, and then I want to close it with Harsh. Now, these are questions not related to business diversification, but very specific to you. Sanjeev, you are been endorsing a lot of brands. How do you handle a situation if the brand doesn't live up to that commitment?
Sure. So first and foremost, any brand endorsements that there, if you look at the number of brands that I would have endorsed in last 30 years on, let's say, screen time, would be less than 30 in all. So I would not endorse any brand until and unless I'm sure that it is of high repute, high quality, and they will do all that justice. So for example, years ago, I've endorsed Saffola oil. I've endorsed, right? So I would do all the diligence. I would first get the product myself, use it. Our team will use it, and because it's I don't endorse things that don't work, right? Because it's a consumer's trust that you are getting paid for, right? It's not just a familiar face. It's because many endorsements are only based on familiarity, not trust. In my case, it's largely the trust of the product that इन्होंने बोला है ठीक ही बोला होगा अच्छा होगा. So we do that very diligently. So for example, if I'm not sure of any category in India, so I think I must have said no. Now nobody comes to me also on mustard oil, and Harsh knows that how difficult to get high quality, unadulterated mustard oil in this country is, no matter what the brand is. So I would not endorse a mustard oil brand. So first, do all the diligence that you can do, and if still they do something. It does not meet with either your expectation or consumer expectation, you flag it. You say that, okay, this is something that you are not happy with. And if, let's say, they still don't listen to you, then you don't renew the contract. So all my endorsements are actually some are 15 years old. Some are, so my problem is I say, अरे मेरे को नए ब्रांड करने दो, पुराने वाले में तो परसेंटेज इंक्रीज मिलता है, नए में तो ज्यादा कर सकता हूँ, right? So I haven't had this problem. Problem at times is with my businesses where we have started from zero, because brand endorsement I would not do it for anyone who's not of scale and size, right? So all that everything is done कि मतलब वो स्कूटर के पीछे स्टेपनी पे कवर पे मेरा फोटो नहीं लगाएगा, ब्रांड का फोटो नहीं लगाएगा, चलती गाय को पेंट नहीं कर देगा, संजीव कपूर रियल है, ऐसा नहीं होगा, right? That would always be done. But our businesses at times which are of not of that scale and size, at times the risk of that is higher. But fortunately we have higher control also there. But in spite of that, do things go wrong? Yes, they do go wrong every day, but I'm willing to own it. I'm willing to listen. And so for example, so on Wonderchef, we get so many service queries and problems and everything. So we made a rule. Okay, we have a team, we have a very large team, we have a very high quality team, big team, all India, nationwide. But if there is a problem that reaches me, so within 24 hours, it has to be, because I have to set some standards for myself that koi mere tak kaise pahuncha, though it can be misused at times, then it has to be looked at. So we found our ways of dealing with it. We don't run away from it. We own it. We own whatever the problem is.
Awesome. Last question to you, Sanjeev. We know you're all entrepreneurs here. The success that you achieved would have never been an easy journey. Do you want to actually share with us one of those failures that you and how you actually overcome that?
So I think failures are in every. So for example, when I talked to you about not getting an exit on sanjeevkapoor.com, and when you have less than 1 lakh rupee in your bank, to say no to 60 crores is a mistake, right? But that's okay. I started from that. I understood that Sanjeev Kapoor is, I am Sanjeev Kapoor, but who's this .com? I didn't at that time. Nobody knew. Nobody in India I could speak to who knew what .com is. Nobody knew what top level domains are. TLDs were unheard of. ICANN people didn't even know. So I said that if I can own this .com, how do I do this? Okay, I realized that. Then I thought that okay, I can do .food maybe. I started to work on that for 2 years. Didn't work. The cost of doing that was too much. I lobbied. I could get that. This was, I think, early 2000. That it was there 20 years ago. I'm talking of this. Today also, .food may be available. Anybody who's there wants to go after it, but may not be of high value. So I realized that I was doing a show on ZTV. What I was trying to build other things around it. What if GTV said no show from tomorrow? So I said, चलो अपना TV channel शुरू करते हैं, वहां से तो कोई निकाल नहीं सकता है, right? So अपना TV channel शुरू करें. I did not realize that the way the whole industry is structured, it is more inefficient than what I thought. But people were willing to not look at that inefficiency. For example, buyers, whether it's brands or agencies or whatever, they only look at one thing. They would look at how many eyeballs, what kind, they would not focus. So if for doctor, दांत टूटेगा तो हड्डी वाले के डॉक्टर के पास नहीं जाएंगे. But in media, people will advertise anywhere and think it's fine. And I would say that what we deliver is bullseye. So today, almost close to 11% sale of Wonderchef product we do from food TV channel, because it's relevance. But the overall numbers, because food and lifestyle is seen as a niche, so your rate of advertising is very low. So what I thought was a very big opportunity, but our users, our consumers, media, brand, they see it from a different eye. And the cost of educating them, it's too high for me. The time taken for that is too high. And it meant that our partners, who are very big they had to quit that business. Okay, it's a different thing. I bought their stake, and we lost almost crores to about 180 crores in that. I took that over. I bought them over, and we could convert that. First thing I said that I don't want to lose any money in this. I focused for almost 18 months. We brought that on track. It's not a big money spinner, but we make enough to pay the salaries and other things. Yes, we don't lose.
Amazing. Sanjeev, Jatin Thakkar is an ASCENT member. Why? And he is the owner of Gel Nova, and they have term gel. Why did you choose to partner with an ASCENT member?
Sure. Quite honestly, when I partnered with him, I didn't know that he was an ASCENT member, so that was not the reason. But I'm happy that he is, and through him and through Aleem, I got this opportunity. An honor to be on this panel. So when I came to know of this product, in any case, so I endorse Tata spices and other food products of Tata's. And one of the differentiation on spices when I came on board, because I also advise on strategy, I said that it's not something that we should look at everything. So we started talking language of turmeric, and we started telling people about curcumin and effects of it and benefits of it. And that's something that the whole communication that I had spent time on. And over the years, I realized that turmeric was so valuable. It was, so at a spice, I understood that when you add bioperine or black pepper to it, how the whole thing changes, the availability, bioavailability of that changes. And I had also started, I had met a pharma company, and I was in touch with them, which was I can literally go almost a global leader in turmeric in pharma use out of India. So I was looking at that category in any case because it's very close to me. It's something that I do as a spice. And if you have to look at how do you add value to it, the value of medicine from consumer is seen as a higher value than as food. So I said, if I understand something and there's a higher value, higher yield that I can drive, why would I not do it? And that's when that was the time Jatin, who has a global patent on this product, term gel, we met, and we realized that he is somebody who knows so much about not only this product, but other his factory is capable of doing many other things, and his knowledge that's there. And good thing was that his excitement was like me. We are childlike. We want to learn and do new things. Yeah, I didn't mention enough, but I think learning is very, very important to me. I want to be so my favorite line is the day that I cease to learn should be the last day of my life. That's what I say. So I realized that I was learning a lot from him. I was enjoying a lot. And we thought that it was, and I understand consumers, there was a relevance, which was core that I've been talking about, learning about, and now packaged in a higher value product. So it sounded a match made in heaven.
Awesome. Wish you the very best on that journey. Thank you so much, Mr. Sanjeev. Harsh, the typical questions are going to come to you, which you must have heard this umpteen number of times, but we're going to ask that questions again. One is, family business, where we have the family. When you take a new idea for diversity, where the head of the family is the one and only decision maker, how do you handle that balance? I am the second generation. I think diversification opportunity. I go to the chairman, he's my father. How do I handle that situation? Can you give some few tips on that? You're muted, Harsh.
Sorry. So I think it's you have to find out the right way. You have to get hold of some what are known as green balls, who else can influence your father? It could be a green ball, it could be your uncle, it could be your brother, it could be your cousin, it could be anybody else who listens to. You have to sell your story to that green ball. And you try and use, not only do it yourself, but also invoke the green balls to convince your whoever is opposing, your father, uncle, the elder, I'm saying, So I think the key thing is to gather somebody who he respects. It could be anybody, and convince that person first, and then go in some sort of a joint way, so that then at least he considers it rather than he turning it down. And because he respects that person, so you need to find the right green ball and do it through that route.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, I like to pitch in here.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I come across this. So my wife works with me now. My two daughters work with me, and our kind of network, which is not that big, over a period of time it becomes big. You get more professionals and all. Initial years are all autocratic. हमारे बिना पत्ता भी नहीं हिलना चाहिए is our philosophy, right? And that's how. So your key team stays with that while you keep on working on the extension. Your keys उनको फिर वैसे ही लगता है. So what I've seen is that now they have understood. They reach me through my wife, my daughters. On my way home, we would sit, and my daughter and my wife, they'll start talking. I said, ऑफिस खत्म हो गया, मेरी बातें ऑफिस में करो, ये इसमें मत करो. So people who are green balls, they also are easily identified by people who you are trying to influence. अच्छा इनके थ्रू आ रहे हो, हमें पता है कि क्यों आ रहे हो, right? So be aware of that. Find too many, otherwise I tell my wife and daughter, please do not misuse your proximity to me to get things done, right? So no, but yeah, I think it's absolutely which are these soft ways to do it, things that you can not get directly done. Indirect way works more often than not. Yeah.
Amazing. Harsh, my last question to you before we actually take a few questions in the chat which has come up. It's all related to the food business. When you were scaling up on the food business, how do you keep that quality in check, and what are the typical challenges Marico faced in the food FMCG business?
So I think quality and food also is important. Any product quality is important. So I think the key thing is to apply the quality principles to whatever you're doing. I'm saying, so whether it is a specification you want, how do you test it? So it's a very generic question, I would say, and I don't think anything quality. Of course, you need to look at the specification. You need to look at shelf life in case of food, which may have a limited shelf life. You need to test it out not only at your end, but ultimately the consumer will buy it. There may be a gap between the time you manufacture to the time the consumer usage is there. So what is the shelf life you can, depending on the kind of food you have? I think these are very basic questions which any entrepreneur in food should be able to handle it. So I'm not getting into great details about the quality. It's at one level, it's a very basic question. And I think if you are not able to answer that question, then you should not be in this business.
Awesome. I think that's the most direct answer that you can give. Thank you so much for that. So it's a wonderful discussion that we've had about this. So I'm going to just...
I just want to add one more thing, Ajit, that, this failure, which I think Sanjeev was saying, it's okay to fail. Indian society does not want failure. People think failure is a negative thing to do. Failure should be celebrated and learned from. That I've had multiple failures, and I had given an example earlier of Saffola Snacks failure, but after that, learning from there and went overboard on taste, including profiling state-wise food, taste preference, flavor preference, and launching a range of masala oats, again, specifically for each taste, different palettes. I mean, you have created a 200 crore brand within the last 4 or 5 years, So it's okay to fail. You go on, because there is no shortcut to actually experimenting and prototyping and, putting the product in consumers' hands. You can do market research, which has huge limitations. You have to test it out with the consumer. Unless you test it out, you will not realize whether you have a success or not. And you can do it on a small scale, just like in case of baked snacks, we only did it in Bombay. But it's okay to fail, and out of every failure, there is a learning. And I think all my failures are listed on my book, which you mentioned in the beginning. Yeah. So we had also a session on the book, and Sanjeev, I'll send you a copy of my book. It's doing well, and I hope all the ASCENT members
Yeah,
at least learn from that book.
that's the book you got to order. Pick up that book. It's got every question that you have, what you're asking to Harsh today on all those events, a similar kind of questions. It's answered in that book, Harsh
Ajit,
Realities.
I want to take the liberty of asking Harsh a question because
Yeah, please.
I follow that and I don't know. I question myself, but that's the call I have taken. And when people ask me, because I follow it, I said, don't wait for perfection.
I
I
fully
think the
agree.
time, yeah, because perfection मैं बोलता हूँ आमिर खान के लिए छोड़ दो हमारे को काम करने दो यार. So, so I don't know. I just wanted to ask, is it okay?
No, I am absolutely of similar mold, trying to perfect.
Okay.
You have to look at trying to achieve perfection. I just want to have one more
Oh, yeah.
caveat to that. I mean, if it all depends, if you can do that perfection within a few days, that's okay. So when I was writing this book, my wife is a perfectionist, okay? And she would, each and every word, she would not want the same word to be repeated on the same page. So she would look at the thesaurus, look at it, and I would get so frustrated. But it didn't have any implications. So I said, okay, ठीक है. A few days more pandemic, so we did all that. But so it's the book is quite perfectionist, but when it comes to launching a new product, or if there is an opportunity in trying to be too perfect, if it is going to take a long time, you'll miss out an opportunity. And as long as you are saying that, let me test it out, as soon as I launch the product, I will be in touch with the consumer. I'm able to fine tune the product at a very short notice. You should not have any fatal flaws when you launch. If you are, but just trying to improve a little bit here and there, which is going to take a long time. I think agility in this world has shown that agility is very important. Vaccines, which would take about 8 to 10 years, have got developed in 1.5 years. So I personally think that they say it's fail fast approach,
Yeah.
So don't, if it is very crucial to your success, then of course you need to be perfectionist, like in case of, American films, or a book. But in many cases, minor tweaking may not have a huge impact on customer feedback. And you should always be open to that feedback later on in terms of tweaking the product. But in trying to be too perfectionist, if it is done at a huge delay, then somebody else will take that opportunity and run away with it.
No, thanks. Thanks,
Awesome.
Harsh.
Amazing. So I'm going to take some questions which has come up in the chat. But before I do that, the ASCENT team is going to actually post a link for feedbacks. So while these questions are going on and before we close the event, please, for everyone, every participant, please do give that feedback. It makes a lot of difference for the events team to understand what you are actually looking at to hearing from the ASCENT. So here's a question which has come from Stephen. He says, what's the difference between diversification and pivoting at the core? Harsh, do you want to take that question? He says, difference between diversification and pivoting at the core.
I thought I had answered that question in the beginning. We discussed that, there are 3 types. One is what's sticking to your core, another is adjacent to the core, and third is diversification, is completely unrelated, And I thought we discussed that, and I would want you to address some other questions because that's got discussed earlier.
Sure. All right. So here's another question, Sanjeev, to you. Do you recommend hydroponically grown vegetables? What's your view?
Somebody wants to build a business around it, go ahead and do it. For green leafy vegetables which are full of water, so leaves are full of water. But create things where, because they're also in food and anything, remember anything which is high water content also has a very little shelf life. So shelf life in business is important. So higher water in food, typically if there's no preservative of anything, typically it would have very low shelf life. So leaves and all, very difficult to transport, very difficult. So hydroponic, very good, but do it in a very small area if you are doing it, or if you can create a model that it can grow let's say like microfinance. Okay, if you can grow a business like that and you enable many people to create their own hydroponic models in their home, that may be more valuable than just trying to do this. Because buyers, if you have to get direct to consumer, B2C, very tough. B2B, find a buyer first. Don't think मैंने grow कर लिया अब जाके nature basket या उस पे बेचते हैं. No, first find that. First find your consumer, then do that. नहीं तो आज अच्छा लग रहा है, उसने भी बनाया, मैंने भी बनाया, let me do this. But otherwise, yeah, do I use hydroponics? Yes, I use, but as a business, no, at the moment, not for us.
And in Wonder Chef, Vikram is asking a question. In Wonder Chef, in the next 5 years, where do you see the maximum growth coming from?
So we have our own plans of growth. So our three categories are one is in the cookware, one is on the small appliance side, and the third new opportunity that is there is the built-in devices that are there. And we as of now, we would say that first two, we are hoping that for next 3 to 4 years, 40% would come from the first two categories, cookware and small appliances, and 20% may come from the inbuilt category. But if you are able to build a successful inbuilt category business, the overall growth in beyond 5 years may come in from that, only because they are higher value products. And yeah, so that's how we look at it.
Awesome. Harsh, we have Pranav here who's asking, I'm sure he's a techie, he's asking, do you see a role of AI and ML, artificial intelligence, machine learning coming in the food industry in coming years?
I think maybe Sanjeev should be able to answer that question better than me.
No, so I definitely see that will come in. I think more and more things that I'm seeing today, and that was the reason about 2 years ago I started working as a co-founder for this AI and ML company. Currently, we are working on the content side, food content side, and we are trying to drive businesses through content. And we are early success is what we are seeing. And how are we seeing this? It's very well funded now, right? We can get more money raised for that. But I think anything and everything that will come in, how much would be, I think we will have to see in each category, no matter what the business is, it will come in. It's a necessary, I wouldn't call it an evil. It's like, can you do without internet today? You can't. So AI and ML will be in our facets of life, and you cannot take food away from it. In what form? Difficult to say. Very, very difficult to say. So for example, today, if Masala Oats for Saffola is looking at creating different variants for different states, let's say, for example, but what happens in a state which has 6 different so cosmopolitan cities which have different tastes already of same product, how do you distribute that, right? AI and ML can bring can bridge that. So for example, in Mumbai, in areas that South Indian shops are more, or concentration of, or when looking at Amazon sales, how do you direct it to that through pin codes and all of that? It will happen. It's already happening. It started to happen, but it'll happen more. Definitely will happen.
All right, awesome. Last question to you, Harsh. This is from Rishabh from Calcutta. He's asking, you spoke about consumer insights, and I think he's coming from the background of your venture with coconut oil and how you actually branded it. He says, in a commodity business, which is purely price driven, what is the consumer insight that I should be looking at? Or should I just take this opportunity, survive, and then diversify at a later stage?
So I think in any business, you can also get insight. For example, in coconut oil, the insight was people wanted very good aroma, so we developed aroma which was liked by the consumer. It was differentiated compared to our competitors. So your insight was they wanted a certain type of aroma. Number 2, they wanted a clarity, in terms of how the coconut oil in terms of color. So I'm saying you have to dig deep and find out, even in a so-called commodity, is there opportunities for creating differentiation. Then at that time, the whole market was packed. Coconut oil was packed in tins. So the another insight was plastics is more convenient to use, it's more attractive, it's much cheaper. So can we convert the market from tin to plastics? So I'm saying that there are opportunities if you dig deep to identify consumer insights in a commodity sector. If there are none, and if you're not in branded, then you are in a commoditized business. So in a commoditized business, the gross margins are very, very low. And in any commoditized business, the businesses don't, the guarantee that you will make a profit is low, because some years, depending on the cycle, you'll make money. In some years, if the prices are falling, you'll start losing money. So you are in something similar to a trading business. I'm not saying anything wrong with the trading business, but if you want to have a far more sustainable business, which is showing profits every year, then you have to convert that into branded. But creating that is a difficult journey. It's not for a trading business to get into branded is a completely different thing, and you need to prototype that, see what your offering is differentiated, something unique, then only go into branded.
So, Rishabh, the message for you is harsh realities. All right. So might as well get on to that. It's got all that solutions. But what an awesome, close to 2 hours. It's a fabulous session. Great learnings from both of you all, talking about the kind of diversifications, how you have taken it up, staying focused on the key domain and trying to build a business around diversification around it, not getting diversifying for just the family business, and having an owner for that diversified business, and understanding the consumer insights before you diversify. Okay, to go forward, backward, but look at the reasons as to why you want to diversify. Beautiful takeaways, fabulous stuff, fabulous 2 hours that we've spent together. And I'm sure all the participants would have had great takeaways. And I want to take this opportunity to...
Sorry, can I just interrupt?
Sure, please.
30 seconds to take the poll here.
Oh yeah, sure, please.
To give us live feedback, I'll request my team members to put it here. Just 30 seconds to take the feedback. Like Ajit mentioned, very critical for us to content create and with the speakers and with you all in terms of getting the right content. Very important for us to take feedback.
You want to share the results immediately, is it?
Yes, we'll have the results immediately. So please do that. Sorry, Ajit, you can continue the content.
Sure, great, awesome. So when you're taking up those feedback sessions, I want to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Sanjeev and Harsh for taking their valuable time and sharing your insights with us today on the diversification of business. I'm sure each of us has had a huge learnings from this session today. And I would like to also thank the ASCENT GC events team and the executive team for putting this entire session together, and specifically to Aleem Merchant, one of our ASCENT members who's also part of the GC events team, to suggest Sanjeev Kapoor as a speaker today. And thank you all the participants for joining us today and being so enthusiastic and participative, asking all those questions during the session. Fabulous learning session. And thank you very much for being here today. It's been a pleasure hosting this event. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you, Harsh.
Thank you for great learning. So I learned a lot. Thank you, Harsh.
Thank you, Sanjeev. And I can see the results on the poll. I mean, you will definitely have more than 4.5 rating, which is very good on a 5-point scale. No, that speaks a lot. And our members don't try and they give a true and fair picture of the poll. Just because you're there, they will not give you higher score.
That's thanks to you.
Of what, but it's amazing. I think I resonated a lot with you when you're speaking on time management, consumer insighting, innovations, and also getting a partner on board. So it was really a great learning for me also.
No, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.